What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Reality Kingdom, where we put the real in reality or whatever.
Period.
What's going on my end?
What's going on your end?
God.
Well, no.
Oh my God, what is that?
What? No.
Oh my God, it's the ghetto. Is it
Giving?
Is it giving daughter? Anyways, y'all, we're here. I'm your host, Pharaoh. We're my wonderful co-host, Lee. And we're here to talk about Big Brother 5. Lee,
we're talking about Big Brother 5. How do I feel about Big Brother 5? Well, is it giving daughter? Is it giving?
Is it giving?
Oh, it's
1 to 10.
boring.
1 to 10. 10 is giving. 10 is it's giving daughter. 10 is it's giving daughter.
What's
one is it's not giving daughter. It's giving son, actually. 1 is it's giving son. 10 is it's giving daughter.
Girl, it's giving child. What's in the middle? Because it's smack dab in the middle.
It's giving child. Well,
I don't understand. Like, I will say, like, when the girls were saying this is their favorite season, I was giving it a chance. I was. But now I'm sitting here and I'm like, it's been like, what? How many weeks? We're on week 7?
We're on week 7. And
it's not good, baby.
Not one.
Like, I can see how in retrospect you're thinking about it. You're like, oh my God, you have Diane here, you got Drew here, and Nakomis.
You got the back door.
You have the back door. You have Jace, and he got taken out. But going through it week by week, this is definitely a boring season. No shade.
On paper, honestly, on paper, amazing season. On paper, you would think it would play out so interestingly. The Big Boys Alliance gets taken out on week 3. It's flipped around. The back door is created. The twins twist. Nakomis and Cowboy knew each other. Drew and Diane are working in tandem, but really he doesn't like her. And then he takes her out. This is on paper a top tier season.
Yeah.
But is reality paper?
It's not paper. It's actually plastic.
And in reality, it's not hitting. Alessandro said, how's it still giving snooze fest? Alessandro, baby, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I just did not expect this. I didn't expect it. I didn't.
I think it has a lot to do with the cast as well. I know you said this about 4, but I feel this heavily this season where, like, the people aren't really, like, getting me excited, Like, I can see how if you're watching the edited episodes that some of these people are, like, kind of interesting, like Karen. But then when you get all of the context of what Karen's doing in the game, nothing. Marvin's a really entertaining person on the show, but when he gets to the game, nothing. Diane, I think on the episode, she comes across as this, like, bold, dominant player that, like, can take control and takes the world by the balls, and some of that is true, but the rest of it is a bunch of sloppy mess. Okay,
the rest of it is a sloppy mess. She's crying.
Nakomis, she's this interesting, eclectic character on the TV screen, and then you get through the feeds and it's like, girl, not talking about nothing. It's like, and then now we're at a section in the game where, and it's been like this since Jace went home. Everything is so set in stone and predictable. Really, since Scott went home.
I was going to say
not a lot of movement. The biggest exciting week was Adria's HOA. Shout out to Adria. Because Adria gave us that big shift and she gave us crackness. Yeah. Other than that, it's just nothing going on. And for a fact the next week is going to be the same. And I know after that, I believe Marvin just goes home.
After that, we're at top 6.
Which makes so much sense. Like, I know the boot order, and I don't even have to know the boot order to know the boot order. I feel like if I was watching this live, it's so obvious how this is going to play out. Yeah. And it's so sad, especially Drew turning on Diane. That's one of the more obvious things, because even till week 7, this man is dragging her behind her back. And some of it, I do think it is to placate Cowboy, but I think some of it is also he don't like this girl like that for real.
Exactly.
He truly don't like this girl.
Exactly.
And so it's like everything is building up to this moment where I thought was this big
surprise.
This big surprise, this big shock. It's not. He does not like this girl. Everyone is playing sloppily. At this point, everyone is just talking shit about each other. It's like, wow. And I'm someone who really appreciates the game of it all. Like, I like entertaining personalities, but when we're doing BB Rewind, my goal is to get into what's happening on the feeds, because I don't have that context. Like, what's happening on the episodes I've seen before. Yeah. I've watched these episodes before. So that's not interesting. What's interesting is what is the context. And the context isn't contexting. Okay. It's giving you a little bit of interesting things here and there, but for the most part, comparing it is what I'm doing to the other BB Rewind seasons, this is a chop.
This is a chop compared. It really is. And I will say, I feel like in visual, this cast could be more interesting. Like if I was watching the live feeds and watching Marvin be cracked and call people bootylicious, and I was watching Adrian Natalie be cracked over there to the left, and Cowboy, look how he looks, and Nakomis,
look how he look.
To sit there and not do anything. Like I could see in theory why it could be enjoyable to watch the feeds, but when the show is not currently on, and this is 20 years ago or however many years ago, we're watching, I think it is 20 years ago that this came out, and we're watching this old season and we're just reading the feeds and trying to get into the strategy. It has nothing for us. And honestly, the personalities aren't even that iconic. There's been way more iconic and dynamic personalities within these first other seasons than we have here. It's went downhill since Scott and Jace went home. Honestly, it just got so predictable and so ABC. And like Lee said, the most hated person this whole time has been Marvin, but the twins have usurped that. But as soon as they're gone, I'm sure Marvin will go. Karen has also been hated the entire season. I'm sure Karen will go. Nakomis hasn't done anything, and Cowboy has always been seen as this goat to take to the end. So I'm sure Nakomis could go after that. Like, it's just so predictable. And then Drew's definitely chopping Diane for Cowboy because he's been chopping her for Cowboy this entire time. There's not one sense of unpredictability in this season at all. And I remember last season, it took me all the way to final 3 till I realized how June and Allison was getting the final 2. Bitch,
right.
Entire season until I realized that. Even Danielle, it was like, bitch, how is you gonna do this?
How are you in final 2?
How are you, Nicole Shaffridge? Will, every single season, it's been, how the fuck is the final 2 the final 2? Even Lisa, just not just Danielle, even Lisa, her whole alliance was demolished. I was like,
whole alliance.
Like it was
orders.
It was
like
crazy.
It's bad.
This is the first season where it is predictable who wins. That has not happened yet until here.
And it's like, it's funny to say because it's like, well, we already know, but like, you know what we're talking about if you know what we're talking about. Like, it's like we knew, but like just because you know, the trajectory doesn't seem like it's so. This time, the trajectory is there. I mean, the fact that everyone is just ignoring Drew as this target, it's so similar to Matt and BB25, where it was just like, well, I guess you could kind of give him the game of saying that, you know, he is this iconic social player that's maneuvering these social bonds, and he's getting people to do certain things. But that's just not happening. Like, this is not, Drew, he is maintaining social relationships. But even this week, people like Karen, Nakomis, the twins are speaking about how his game is kind of lackluster and how he doesn't speak to them. As things are starting to come out now. And it's because he truly hasn't done any real work himself. You know, even this week, which we'll get into, he has an agenda that he doesn't even get through because he really doesn't have that much control when you look at the grand scheme of the house. Like, he doesn't control Diane the way he would probably want to control Diane, which is why, Diane is interesting in that fact because she is very her own person. It's just she's a very sloppy own person. Like, she's definitely Allison. Like, reading the feeds is just like Allison, just like 10 times more sloppy, which is crazy because Allison is already sloppy.
Allison was extremely sloppy. She just, Diane is like Allison, but ineffective a lot of the time. Allison would be sloppy, but effective every single time. It was like, they're talking shit about her, but they're still agreeing to the deal she's making, you know? Like, it would be sloppy in that sense. Like, they know what she's doing, but they would still do it.
Right.
But Diane is like, girl, you're not even really doing
We know what you're doing, but right now we're in alliance because we got to worry about them. That's what it's literally. Like, she can't get targeted because of how the social dynamic is set up. And I want to give her some credit for that, which we'll do in the final player rating, but still, it's just like overall, everyone is like, just sitting in this like purgatory until they get to the end where Drew wins. Like, very much so. Like, it's crazy how like no one is clocking him for the threat he is. Everyone's just letting Cowboy sit there. Marvin is just floating in the wind. Like, everyone that's left in this game, it's like most of them really haven't done many, like, I would say, maneuvering to get to this point. Other than I would say the most would be Diane because she has a connection to Drew and she's the one who took out Scott that kind of started all of this push.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Other than that, it's like, you know, like you have
the big
six-finger plan where everyone like jumped in on that, and then it goes away. So I would say Diane's HOH and Nakomis 6-finger plan HOH. Other than that, everyone has just been coasting.
Yeah, literally a bunch of coasters.
Like, full of coasters, for real.
It really is. It really is. It really is. And it's weird because there was such active strides in the last 3 seasons, the first 3 seasons we saw, to carve a path to the end. Nicole Shafrich was the first target in Big Brother 2, and she said, actually, let's make sure the house is all against the Chilltown. She gathered the troops, gathered them against Chilltown, and then she actively organized who was getting evicted when she felt that Krista was becoming a problem. She said, actually, let's move the target to Krista and Monica. There was so much active movement. BB3, same thing with Danny and Jason. They were struggling at him. But that's the thing, even when Danny and Jason didn't have control, Roddy and his alliance had control. And Josh was like, we need to take out this person, did this person, did this person. This is the group. So much active shit. Allison and June, every week, June is deciding to do this and go this way. Allison has a plan to do this and make this every single week. This season, there has been nothing. It was simply an alliance demolishing an alliance, and then it flipped, and now the other alliance is just taking out the other people, and now it's just randomly taking out random people at random moments. And it's crazy because this season doesn't even have, like, I assume BB6 will also have a lack of strategy because of the way the season is set up. When it is a split house, there's not a lot of need for extreme strategy. However, with Big Brother 6, it was actually an interesting dynamic because it was genuinely side versus side. I never felt like the girls
back and back, like,
and even it was back and forth. It was even. It was hit by hit. There was so many different things that could happen. We didn't know who was winning HOH. This season, it's been so predictable, and also it doesn't feel rootable. Diane, Nakomis, and Karen as an alliance is not rootable. They're barely together. They're barely an alliance. Like, they don't even talk. Nakomis never talks. Karen only talks to Will. Diane only talks to Drew. It's not even like a group of people where it's like, oh, this is the Sovereign Six. They're eating it up. These are my girls. Like, I can't even root for them in a fun, fresh way. It's simply just, bitch, it's whatever. Matter of fact, let me bring up the motherfucking game board. This is the game board, y'all. This is the game board. This is what it's looking like. You see how slapped together all over the place this shit look?
Because that's how the game is right now, slapped together and all over the place. Like, you would think that what? Drew, Diane, Cowboy, Nakomis, and Karen have some type of like 5 or 4. Like, when I would look at the Wikipedia, I thought, oh, Nakomis and Diane flipped and they started working with Drew and Cowboy. No, Nakomis is very close with Karen. They're in a way a final 2 right now. And Diane is like in a way protecting Drew with them too. And then Drew is in a way dragging Cowboy along with Diane. Marvin is just over there, and the twins fuck themselves up. I would love to see the universe where the twins don't fuck themselves up, because who gets targeted?
Right. That'll be a more organized.
Because that's really what happened here. The twins took out Will, and now we have to waste 2 weeks worried about them. And then it goes Marvin. So I'm wondering if the twins don't do what the twins do, and we go to HOH as we did. Like, let's say the twins won and they actually got out fucking Cowboy or Marvin. Nakomis when she takes out Cowboy or Marvin. Right. You know? Then it will be a little bit more interesting dynamic, because, girl, what's Drew finna do? Was a twin, like, are the twins taking out Nakomis and Karen? Like,
Will is still here in that scenario.
Maybe Will would still be here. So you have Will, Nakomis, and Karen, Drew, Diane, the twins. It's like, I think that could be a more interesting development, but the twins kind of gave us one of the more interesting weeks and then ruined the game. Like,
and honestly, I think a part of the reason that the twins week ruined the game is because Will was the most actively strategic person, to be honest. Drew was never actively strategic. Honestly, Will was the only, when we're really taking a step back and thinking, Will is kind of the only active strategist in this entire season.
He's not a coaster, he's the only floater.
He's the only float. He was the only actual floater. He was actually floating. Everyone else is just was coasting. You're spilling. And it's like, with him out of the game, there is no strategist. There is no, I guess, mastermind, of lack of better words. And you know what? It's like, there's rare seasons of Big Brother. And I talked about this. I don't even know when I talked about this, but I talked about how there's rare seasons of Big Brother where there's no mastermind. And I usually don't like those seasons, because without a mastermind, it has a lack of strategic flow. It's kind of just random things happening randomly. I remember kind of feeling that way about like a BB18 a little bit. It's kind of like, it's just shit happening. It's just shit happening here, and here, and here. And like, I don't necessarily love when it's just shit happening and there's not a force that's moving the game forward, and it's kind of just group here, random person here. They like this, they did this week, so that's why this is happening. Like, even if they're like even in split seasons, there's usually a strategist. Like there's usually a strategist moving forward the game, like Maggie in 6, like Tyler kind of in BB20. It's like there's always someone, Jason a little bit in Big Brother Over the Top. Like there's still always someone who leads the strategic implementation of the game to kind of give it a story. There is no story of Big Brother 5. Like when I'm thinking of like Chelsea, for example, in BB26, that is the story of how Chelsea Bayham won. And in a way, this is the story how Drew won, but it's like, not really. It's a story about how the 4 horsemen was targeting the girls, and then they flipped, and then they did this, and then Drew won. And you know, it's like, it's not really this cultivation of strategic prowess to get to the end. Like even BB3 was definitely how Danny and Jason, the Secret Alliance, carved their way to the end. You know, it's like, it's a story. This just is BB5, right? But we're here.
We gotta get into it. We gotta get into
We're
it.
here.
Once again, it was another pretty boring week. It wasn't anything really interesting happening. And we're gonna talk about it.
Nakomis wins the head of household this week. This is her second HOH. She is the first person to win 2 HOHs, so shout out to motherfucking her. She eats the motherfucking mental comps down. Okay. She decides to, of course, nominate the twins because they came for her boy. And we find out that Adria wins the power veto, which we'll get into because it's an iconic power veto competition. She uses it on herself.
They don't fucking do no more.
They should. That's one they could do. That's what pissed me off. Adria uses it on herself, and the comments puts up Cowboy. She said, "Fuck a blood, bitch.
Girl,
water over blood.
She said, what? Right.
Water is thicker. What is it? Blood is not thicker than water. Whatever the fuck the lyrics is." But she puts up Cowboy.
Whatever
and,
the lyrics is.
Natalie's evicted anyways. So yeah.
Bye, Natalie. Nelly.
Adria and Nelly. Okay. Starting off this week, who went home last week? Will went home last week, which was not what Diane wanted. And she was a little pressed at Drew for that because Drew basically was like, I'm doing what I want to do. I'm doing what's best for my game, and Will needs to go for my game. And Diane tried to like call him out a little bit about that. But this is my issue with Diane.
Mm-hmm.
She'll notice something that is a clear indication of non-loyalty, and then she'll say, "It's okay though, girl. Like you do what you want. You're your own player." It's like when this nigga was like, when this nigga was like, "Oh, what am I gonna do with the veto?" She was, "Oh, just do what you want." And it's like, I know, of course, in the end he was gonna veto her, but she's just too nonchalant. She's too nonchalant.
I think that is her way of trying to get close to him. Like, oh, I'm one of those girls who don't care. Like, I'll let you do what you want. But like, also in real life, a lot of times people ignore red flags because they want that man or they want that woman. She looking at a fine ass nigga that is kissing up on her, rubbing up on her poochie at night, you know, doing what needs to get done. Yeah, under the sheets and the covers. Yeah. So she don't want to leave him, and I don't blame him because he a fine ass man. No shade, he
look good.
Him and that Probita. You know, so I don't understand though why she truly loses it when it comes to gaming with him. Like, because she's so kind of falling over heels for him. Like, she is not even focused with, I feel like, the game when it comes to their relationship. Like, she is trying to kind of set up this, like, I feel like, duo between them, but Drew really doesn't give that energy. Like, Drew does his own thing, she does her own thing, and she's trying to keep him in the loop and keep him protected with her people. Like, he does not give her much of anything. Like, he doesn't really protect her. He doesn't, like other than personal things of what he brings, he doesn't bring anything for her to the game. Like, nothing. She's truly, in a way, helping him get to the end. I feel like it's not as blatant as people made it seem like when I went into the season. However, at this point in the game, you know, if she wanted Nakomis and Karen to go after her, after Drew, she could. She really could do that. Like, she could start pushing that heavily, but she won't, and she never would. And I think that that's truly just her biggest blind spot, like her feelings for Drew. Like, it's actually really terrible, but I feel like that's also a positive on Drew because he got this girl sprung. And in a way, he doesn't control her. Like, he can't tell her what to do, but in a way, he does control her in this game because she is never going to let him go. And it's because of her connection to him. And he is well aware of that. And he, I think, uses that to his advantage.
Yeah, it's weird because he fully, like, what you're explaining is basically Drew fully benefits from his relationship with Diane. Diane has no strategic benefit of her relationship with Drew. Her being with Drew does not help her in any sense ever. This entire game, it has never helped her. And with Drew,
he's never protected her.
Not once. And with Drew, it actually protects Diane. Like with Drew, Diane actually protects him. His relationship with her protects him. Like Lee said, like I even saw Nakomis. She listed out the people who she doesn't have a relationship with, and Drew was one of them. She was like, I've never talked to Drew, never talked to Marvin, never talked to Cowboy, which is embarrassing for her. But also, she hasn't talked to Drew. Drew doesn't just talk to Karen every single day. Jace talked to Karen more than Drew did. Like there was so many instances where he's not really involved actively with the people that Diane is, but because of his proximity and of course also the way that he appears, his presentation to the other people, he doesn't seem like a threat or someone who they should target. So it's a little bit of his just natural presence, but also Diane's proximity to him. And it's like he benefits so much. And it's weird because with Will, I remember you compared it a little bit to Will and Nicole from season 2, but with Will leeching off Nicole had a benefit. In Nicole's mind, everyone loves Monica, everyone loves Hardy, everyone loves Krista, everyone loves Bunky. I'm losing to everybody except Will. In Nicole's mind, and logically, it does make sense. She thinks it makes sense for her to go with Will to the end because everyone hates both of us. But with this situation, Diane, everyone loves Drew. From what you know, Diane legitimately has zero benefit. It's kind of scary. She's sprung.
Yeah, it's really bad too. Like she really doesn't see it. It's like a train wreck happening before her eyes, and she's just.
It is. Yep.
Girl,
I love trains. Look at the birds.
I love puzzles. Bitch, lock the fuck in.
Lock in, queen.
And also, so another thing with Diane, because I've also heard before watching the season that Diane would have won the season. I don't know how true that is.
I don't know how true that is.
I'm interested to start seeing how the jury talks about it when we get to the end game, because Natalie and Adria are not voting her. They would never do that.
They would not vote her.
I do not believe Marvin or Cowboy would either.
I don't think so either.
Especially with who she was in the end game with. Like if she's next to Drew, she wouldn't get the twins, Cowboy, and I don't believe Marvin either. Her best bet would be Nakomis, Karen, and Will, and they've also talked hella shit about her.
Yeah.
So maybe she beats Cowboy. I think she
maybe maybe they're talking about the world where she isn't sprung over Drew.
Okay.
And she takes Cowboy. The twins would still vote Cowboy, but Marvin, Nakomis, Karen, Will, and Drew, maybe not Drew, but no, I think Drew would all vote her. So maybe in that world, because truly, Diane's mistake is taking out. Specifically, in my opinion, Nakomis. I don't remember how exactly that happens. Don't tell me. We'll see. But I think her mistake was not going to final 2 with Nakomis or Cowboy rather than Drew. Drew shouldn't even be in final 3. It should be her, Nakomis, and Karen. And both of them should be taking her. Or something
even
like
in that instance, I'm like, baby, Diane wasn't beating Nakomis.
That's what I'm thinking.
Karen. She should go to the end with Karen. But that's what I'm saying. Looking at this list, the only person she probably could confidently beat is Karen and Cowboy.
I don't even know about Karen because it's Adrian Natalie don't like Karen.
No one respects Karen. No one likes
Karen. No one respects Karen or like.
The only vote Karen would get is Will.
So probably Karen or Cowboy, but this is the thing. Karen and Cowboy were both in final 5. She could have easily went to the final 2. It's not like it's impossible to have made it with them. You could have made it with either of them.
But the thing is, she said it though. She herself has come out of her mouth saying that she will lose to Drew. She does not mind losing to Drew. She wants to go to the end with him. And Drew is sick and nasty because he's told her the same exact thing. Just sick and a sick, nasty DL man. I hate to see it. I did want to bring up this comment because this was funny. So Drama Simba says, "Do you guys really read every page of the feed archive? I'm trying to do it for BB6, but it feels draining." Yes, girl. I don't know what it is.
Lee definitely does.
I'm a speed reader, so like, and I'm not going through like irrelevant conversations. Like I'm a pro skimmer. Okay.
Yeah.
So I can weed out the importance and I just scroll past that. Because this season, 90% of it is irrelevant conversations. I'm not reading that. I'm not like some stuff is interesting, like what they had to dinner or what popular thing they're talking about.
Who's making people mad? Why are they making people mad?
But most of it is just, I mean, think about real world live feeds today. 90% of the time, shit is not happening. So that's how it is with that. Like they're updating things that doesn't matter. So unless you just want to get into every single thing, I can see how it's draining. But I specifically skip to important conversations. Like when you watch Big Brother, you start to realize like which conversation is important and what is not. So now I know when the twins are speaking, I'm not reading that. That has nothing to do with anything.
Usually if
real.
someone's going home,
Right.
it's kind of not necessary.
Any Karen conversation I'm not
result.
reading because no one respects Karen and does whatever Karen wants. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Most Marvin conversations doesn't lead anywhere because he's not in the real alliances. And so because of the way this season is set up, it's more times than not I'm skipping over irrelevant conversations because most of these people don't even talk game with each other. Like Diane will talk game with Nakomis and Karen. She'll talk game with Drew. Drew will talk game with Cowboy. You know, Marvin kind of talks game with a few people, but he has no real alliance with anybody. And the twins only talk to each other all day.
Mm-hmm. Wait a minute.
What?
Will is in the jury. I'm sorry, that was a long pause. Will is in the jury. Will, Karen, Nakomis. That's 3. Cowboy, Adria, Natalie, Marvin. That's 4. Okay. I was so confused at these jury votes. I was like, how does Cowboy get 3 jury votes but not win? And it's because Drew gets 4. But Alessandro in the chat says, I don't think Diane would have even won against Cowboy because Drew almost lost against Cowboy. And that's a very valid...
The problem is the twins. I think the twins, because after these 2 or 3 weeks of Cowboy being on their side, they love Cowboy. He's the only person that they respect in the game. So Cowboy picking up them twins, that's 2 votes right there. He only needs 2 more. I don't know who that third person was for Cowboy. No one spoil it. Because I want to see.
Don't spoil it.
But I'm thinking it had to have been someone that just didn't like Drew by the end of it. And the only person that makes sense, I would say, is...
I don't see that making sense for anybody, actually.
Maybe Will or Nakomis, because Nakomis is like, that's my brother.
Yeah, like the only acceptable answer for me is Nakomis because she might get a little bit of that money, if need be. Pay me to see your dad, actually. So that would be the only acceptable answer. I genuinely don't know who it is, so that would be very interesting.
Nakomis would have no reason to vote Drew at all.
Not necessarily. He doesn't talk to her. He doesn't associate with her. Like, honestly, like Drew does not have a great social game in the sense of an active making people like you and da 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 da. He doesn't necessarily have that. Same with Matt, which is why Matt lost to Jag. Same with Tyler, which is why Tyler lost to Casey. Same here with Drew, which is why Drew could have lost to Cowboy. It's simply not a true social game. It's a perception social game. It's like the way he's perceived is a social status rather than a social game. Drew doesn't have a great relationship with Karen. I don't even think he knows anything about Karen or Nakomis or Will. Will literally made the comment before he left, like 2 weeks before he left. He's like, Drew literally stopped talking to me. Drew used to talk to me. He stopped talking to me altogether. He doesn't look at me. He doesn't laugh at me.
Diane and Cowboy.
He literally stopped talking to Homeboy altogether. He doesn't talk to Marvin. No one talks to Marvin. He only talks to Adria and Natalie within the group of the strategy. He doesn't talk to them socially at all. Drew is actually not a great social player. Like for lack of better words, he's just like socially...
most people in this archetype are not great social players, though.
Very true. Very true. Very true. So yeah, there's that. I see why he could have potentially lost. He doesn't have a hold on anyone.
Oh no, Casey doesn't have an active social game. What he's saying is that the person playing their social game isn't that good, which is why they actually lose.
Yeah, I'm not saying Cowboy, Casey, and Jag are amazing. Like they're my opinions about them are different. But I'm just saying Drew, Matt, and Tyler lost because they didn't genuinely have an active social game the way that it seems. And I think it's a misconception, which is why I'm bringing it up, because it's a misconception that they are actually active social players. In reality, their social status is viewed in a positive way, but they don't actually have one-on-one relationships with them. Matt didn't have a relationship with Blue Kim, which is why he didn't get Blue Kim vote. He didn't have a relationship with America, which is why he didn't get America vote. He didn't have a relationship with Corey, which is why he didn't get Corey vote. You know what I'm saying? For example.
Not a real one at that. And that's what's so interesting too, because while people realize that, like, they're starting to talk shit about him and they're starting to expose some things, which is why I'm probably going to bring him down a little bit, because I didn't realize that people started waking up a little bit.
Yeah.
They don't care. They don't care. Will never thought about targeting Drew. Karen and the Nakomis never speak about targeting Drew. They believe Drew will be in their Final Four. Why would you want Final Four with someone who doesn't talk to you? I don't know, but they want it and they don't care. And like I said, it's not necessarily because of Diane pushing, which is why it's a weird scenario, because he's protected by Diane, but not because Diane is like in their face all the time, making sure it's aligned. But it's more proximity. It is.
Yeah.
But even that, like, they don't mention, oh, we're not going after Drew because he's close to Diane. It seems like they just
aren't. But this is
threatened. They're kind of not threatened. They're kind of not.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Drew is just as unrespected in their mind as Cowboy, in my opinion. I don't think they respect Drew or Cowboy. I don't think a lot of people respected Tyler in the jury. Not everyone, but the people who were voting in the jury, Falte, I don't think they respected Tyler as a dominant player. I don't think they necessarily respected Matt as a dominant player when you got to the end of the game. And I think the same here is happening with Drew. Drew and Cowboy are interchangeable in a lot of people's minds, and that's why the vote was so close. I don't think people respect either of them as threats to their game. And they never have. Same happened with Jason. You remember with Jason? They were like talking shit about him a little bit low key, like Roddy and them. They were like,
because that game isn't respectful, and that's why a lot of women who play that game always go home. Like a man could definitely be more successful playing it, of course, because of a lot of things. But most women, and they play that way. Like Karen is kind of playing similarly, and no one respects Karen. You know what I mean? So it's weird. And Diane is a dominant player, and no one respects her. If Drew was more dominant, they would respect him, but he was able to win being unrespected. So
100%.
like people who are perceived in this way, they are really, really successful, whether it's Final Two, the win. It's like they can go really far in this game because people are just not going to see them. But it's making me now rethink, like, how should I rate Drew? Only because I think a lot of information is coming out this week. So I'm like, because he's done some really good work throughout the season, especially with Diane and when the Four Horsemen were here. But I'm starting to see and unpack why he lost, because I mean, Karen said herself that he's a scared player. Natalie and Adria call him childish. It's like people do not respect him, like you said. So it's like interesting. It's really interesting. I don't know where it's gonna give.
Total Drama Simmer says, but Jason beats Danielle and Lisa in a jury vote. I think this is a slight misconception. Jason beats Danielle. I don't think Jason beats Lisa. Lisa's entire alliance was voting. And that was a part of the reason why I didn't love that Danielle and Jason even brought Lisa so far over Amy, because no one respected Amy. It was all of them. There was no jury. Remember, everybody voted. Danielle is the reason a jury became. Every single person voted. So Lisa's entire alliance was voting. So when we got to the end game, I remember feeling like Lisa is definitely winning. I don't know why either of them are taking her, because everyone in her alliance, Kiara, Roddy, Eric, they were all voting. And it's like Josh, they were all voting. And it's like they all voted for Lisa. I don't think Josh did. But that was all of Lisa's votes, were all of them, plus extra people. So I never necessarily felt like, the way I felt like Monica was definitely beating Will and that other girl, I didn't necessarily feel that about Jason. Although he was liked socially, I didn't feel like Jason was going to sweep Lisa in a jury vote, because Lisa had her whole alliance who was going to.
It definitely wouldn't have been a sweep. It wouldn't have been like how it was with Danielle at all.
Yeah, it would have been a little more close. But yeah, he could have won, but I don't think it's like he was socially respected. Like, he was not respected. Roddy did not respect him. I don't necessarily think he would have gotten someone like Roddy's vote over Lisa, honestly. But who knows? Because that didn't happen. I remember actually
with Danielle as well. I can see him catching some flack for being an ally with Danielle, because he would have went up there and he wouldn't have dragged my sister. He would not have said nothing negative about my girl. He would not have denounced her at all.
Yep. But yeah, basically not a guarantee. Not a guarantee the way it seems. It seems like, oh, Jason's sweeping them. I don't think that's true. I think Jason has a very big legendary status that is a misconception when you actually go through what happened throughout that season. But we're talking about BB5, girl. Back on track.
There's no shade, because the girl, we say that and the girls be like, no, I don't know. It's interesting.
We read every day of them feeds, just like you said, girl.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's really interesting. And I know the feeds are not 100% accurate, but like, Jason was not doing some like Olympic level, Dan Giesling level for the time period type of maneuvering in that house. He really wasn't.
Yeah. So Natalie and Adria both end up having a one-on-one conversation with Nakomis, because they know they're going up. Natalie truly, this segment here showed me that Natalie is truly the better player, because Natalie went to Nakomis and was like, well, I just want to let you know that I really didn't have anything against you. It was very specific to Will. And Nakomis was like, well, let me ask you something. Did you vote to evict Will? And it was like, I did do that. And I want to let you know why. I'm letting you know why. It was because I specifically asked Will. I asked him, I said, would you nominate or evict me. And he couldn't answer that question to me. And when I found out he couldn't answer that question to me, I had no choice. He left me no choice but to evict him. So I feel like, although Nakomis is clearly mad and getting revenge, I do think Natalie, she was honest. She said, look, girl, it wasn't towards you. I got your back. And then when Adria talked to her, Adria was like, well, I know you coming after me. So, hey, you coming after me? I'm like, Adria, do something. Say something, queen.
And this right here, Koku, it's a shame Adria won veto. Natalie might have been able to make something happen if she stayed. I was literally saying this last week because I didn't remember that Adria won veto. I'm like, what? I'm interested to see, because I knew the twins went home back to back, but I thought Natalie went home second. I was like, I'm interested to see what Natalie is going to give alone, but she goes home because of collateral damage. Like, I think Natalie could have done something, maybe not much, only because the way the twins were so conjoined at the hip these last few weeks, like, they really should have tried to separate and socialize more. And I think that Natalie definitely could have been a force if she was able to play this game alone, because Adria is off the handle. Off the motherfucking handle. Okay. She's not good at the socializing. She's not good at the strategizing like that. Like, I think Natalie got a little bit of both. Now, the one critique she keeps getting is being the aggressive one. You know, Diane refers to her as the evil twin. So I don't know if that would have been a big issue for her, but I think it's kind of just a perception of them both. So I would have been interested to see Natalie just by herself, because Natalie could have did something.
I do agree. I would have been very excited. And this was just such an indicator of, like, she's better than you, Adria. No shade. But it doesn't work. Nakomis still nominates both of them. And this is what killed me. This was the funniest part of the week. Why are Adria and Natalie walking around confused, upset, and angry that they're nominated? They are literally the original Christmas. Why don't you understand why she nominated you? And Natalie was, this is the thing. I have no idea why Adria's mad. You know you broke up, but you actually
Adria's crazy. But here goes Natalie.
Actually, her picture.
I didn't nominate anybody. I didn't make any promises.
I didn't make a deal. I didn't make a deal.
Tried to do that, baby. Just because you was with, and what Nakomis say?
Nakomis ate them up, because when Natalie and Adria tried to call Nakomis out a little bit, and they were like, I just feel like she didn't have a good reason. I don't like her reason. I don't like your reason. Nakomis was like, well, I feel like, and no, they didn't tell Nakomis directly to her face. They were talking shit about her to Diane. Nakomis said, it seems like y'all don't understand why I nominated y'all, so I want to make it very clear. You guys made a deal, and you agreed, and we all pinky promised to not nominate or evict each other, and that's exactly what happened last week. Here go Natalie. I didn't make a deal. Nakomis said, well, at that time, y'all were playing as one, so the information should have been relayed.
Dang it!
He ate them up.
Dang it! I would have had
the information should have been relayed.
I would have had to shut the fuck up. I would have to,
because y'all were playing as one, but Natalie was still trying to act like, no, I didn't make a deal. I didn't make it. Natalie, please. Y'all made a deal with that man, and y'all took that man out. It's okay. That's what y'all did. Stand on business, queen.
Because either way, y'all are twins. Like, you're gonna have your sisters back and vice versa. So even though you didn't do it, but she did it, y'all are still working together, and y'all both are a problem. Goodbye. Get out my villa.
You voted to evict him. I don't give a fuck, bro. You voted to like, fuck all of that. Fuck the deal. You knew I was working with him, and y'all voted to evict him. Y'all took him out of the game. So fuck y'all. How about that? The fuck? Literally, like, what would they expect? Were they expecting no one to nominate him?
They're like, well, Will would have stayed if he did this and this. You nominated him.
Yeah, they keep trying to blame other people, absolve themselves.
I was going to use veto on Marvin, but Marvin doesn't want to be here because you nominated these people. Why are you shocked at the reaction? Like, I hate people who are so upset by the consequences of their actions. You did something. This is the motherfucking result. Deal with it.
She said Nakomis did say you owe me a pinky. She is so campy when she wants to be, because that was hilarious as well. But yes, the girls is walking around, stomping around. I don't understand it at all. But we get to the power.
They were laughing a little bit too. I was like, okay, they keying a little bit.
They was keying too. They was keying. It was a joke, bitch. Leading up to the power veto competition, Adria and Natalie, Adria specifically, and for lack of better words, very aggressively, in my opinion, approaches Drew and Diane. And she doesn't really start off the conversation calmly. She doesn't say, how y'all doing? She says, well, look, if y'all play the veto, what do you feel is gonna happen? And Diane was like, well, what do you want us to do? And she was like, I would like for it to be used. I would definitely like for it to be used. I do feel like, you guys were the ones who we felt like we had backs of each other. And Diane and Drew was laying down. They was keep going, like, you just came in here hot and heavy, queen. Like, what? And then what do you think is gonna happen if we use it, baby?
The twins is pissed the fuck off at Diane and Drew. Like,
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if they're the 2 votes for Cowboy, because I
Yeah.
know for a fact that they're done with them. Like, the way they were like so over them this week on the feeds, because they realized that this was their only way out, Drew and Diane.
Yeah.
And Drew and
Very much
Diane
so.
basically said, I don't give a fuck about y'all. Diane made it very obvious this week.
Yeah.
And they realized that early on. Drew, not so much. He tried to still play up this, oh, I'm with you, da, 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 da. But it's like, you could tell that he wasn't really, and they could tell too, which is why they were calling him childish and scared. So it's just like, it's actually insane the way they kind of flipped on her. But Drew was trying to stay with them this week. He really was. He was trying to get Diane to flip with them. And it was this whole thing, but that of course was not going to happen. Diane did not want to work with them anymore. I don't know if it would have been smarter for Diane. I do think the alliance that he wanted to create, which would basically be the twins, Cowboy, himself, and Diane, would have been a way better alliance for him. It's kind of the alliance that you were talking about, an alliance that he built and that he's in the center
exactly.
of. That would have been that. So shout out to him trying to do that, but he gave up on it very easily. Like, it's not like he was like fighting all week. Like, after a few conversations, he was like, well, bye, Natalie, you know? I wish that was something he kind of worked harder on, but he wanted it either way, so.
Yeah, I agree. We get to the veto, and it is the face morph competition, which they can still do. Nothing about this competition is inequitable. I don't know why they don't still do this. If anything, this is a competition that can be interesting for the viewers to watch and still equitable. And it's like, I don't understand why they don't do this anymore. Like, I genuinely don't.
It's such a good veto. It was my favorite veto. Wasn't it always like Final Four?
It was always like towards the end. It was it always like Final 5 or Final 4, or something like that, which I feel like was so iconic. It made, like, it was a staple. It was always coming around at the same time. I don't know why they did away with this. This is such an interesting competition. I feel like if I don't even know what I feel like, because I was trying to figure out maybe why they wouldn't want to. I can't think of a reason. It's very equitable. Like some of these other vetoes, girl, it could get gamed. The big alliance can use it. I get it. This veto, no, bitch. It's just a face morph. But hey, maybe they'll bring it back one day.
The veto, that's my favorite thing about these old school seasons, the vetoes. These vetoes are so thought out and interesting. Go back to your roots. I feel like we kind of experienced the same thing with the immunities in Survivor Rewind. It's like, what these people used to do with their competitions was so out there and interesting. It was outside of the box. And now it's like they give you the same template every single time.
Yep, I agree. Hey, we move. Adria eats that shit up. You know what was hilarious to me? If Adria didn't win, Natalie would have won. Natalie literally got second place.
The twins was not playing, baby. The twins were not playing, mama. They knew their life was on the line, bitch. Gun to the head. Adria said, bitch, I'm Adria.
I'm Adria. And that was
Natalie. In 2 weeks, bitch.
Adria would
have had me standing just a little bit.
She did eat that a little bit. Honestly, like, it would have been iconic if Adria won HOH again. I'm sorry. Like, it would have been iconic
down, bitch.
Or just veto, like,
this next HOH. Baby, I would be over here like, yes! Baby. I would have been rooting for it. I literally would have been rooting for it.
Yep. Child. So she wins the veto, and of course they have to discuss who's the renom. Nakomis and Diane, they kind of have conversations about it barely, and the options are either Cowboy or Drew, right? This was an interesting decision from Nakomis, in my opinion. I see why you wouldn't want to target Marvin. The same reason the twins shouldn't have targeted Marvin, and we know who wins the next HOH. So very smart decision. I don't think she should have put up Marvin. I think Cowboy and Drew were 2 good options, and honestly, like, for Nakomis, she probably should have just did Drew. Like, he's not going home. Drew isn't vindictive either. No. Like, I feel like Drew isn't gonna, Nakomis gotta go next. He's not that type of person. Yeah. So I kind of feel like it would have been okay, and you would have still had Cowboy kind of on your good side, because we know later in the season, well, I don't actually know what the vote was, but later in the season, she could have used Cowboy's relationship if she kept up the illusion that she was still loyal to him.
Exactly.
And this ruined the illusion altogether. Like,
Like, it started last week when Drew told Cowboy that Diane was upset that he wasn't one of the people nominated. Yeah. And now this week he's fully nominated at the hands of Nakomis.
Yeah.
So it's like, wait, did I say the right words back then?
You said at first you said Diane, but everybody knew you meant Nakomis.
Okay. Yeah. So now with this information that he was literally nominated by Nakomis, it's like, what else is he supposed to think? And it's like, we know that he backstabs her at the Final Four, and it's like, I was gonna be upset about it, but I can't even be upset, Nakomis. I can't.
You
be.
played in
At the
his
end of the
face.
day, like Nakomis, this entire game has been kind of associated with this girl power alliance, but she hasn't really made any real strides with anyone fully in the game. Like she's kind of forcing this final two now with with Karen, but they're not even an official final two.
Nope.
She doesn't have a relationship with Drew, yet she wants him in the final four and is not trying to target him. Marvin, the reason why she says she doesn't want to do Marvin is because Marvin has been nominated 3 weeks in a row and she doesn't want to do it again. I believe it's 3 weeks, but multiple times already in a row. And she doesn't want to do it again, which is like, girl, Marvin isn't protecting you either. And she also said later in the week that she believes that Marvin may put her up. So I'm like, girl, why didn't you put him up? You know, it's like Nakomis as the game player, it's not there. And once again, I can see why a player like her, a player like Diane, a player like Allison would have flopped going into All-Stars because the game they're playing on their season, every game that everyone plays on their season is circumstantial. Every time because of the cast you play with. But you can tell that their circumstances are different from someone like Danielle or Dr. Widow, you know, some of the girls. So, and it's obviously shown because Nakomis is not a good social player. And I feel like she went home first because was she making any friends in All-Stars? Probably not. And of course, we can mention the pre-gaming, but it's like also within the season, though. Like we're seeing the type of player that she is. She's not someone that's going to go have all these conversations and get into all these alliances and do all of these things. Like she's going to just sit back.
She's just not that.
And that's what she's been doing this whole time, just sitting back. And thankfully, she has the Girl Power Alliance. You know, the boys, the 4 horsemen wasn't coming after her. So she's kind of here in this spot. But truly, she didn't get here. She's kind of just, you know, going with the wind, you know? So it's like, I don't really love the decision either because you're right. Like she could have used that relationship to her benefit at some point. Like, let's say, please play devil advocate and say Cowboy never, you know, he always evicts Nakomis there. You know, it's like at least have the leverage, you know, have the
have a possibility.
Like he ruined any possibility of being able to convince him of anything. And at the end of the day, he probably would have done it, evicted Diane, because this is his sister. And Diane and Drew are a final, like Diane and Drew are showmans. He does not like Diane. No one likes Diane, but Cowboy hates Diane because of Drew and her relationship. So it's like, I think it's very likely that Cowboy would have evicted Diane if he felt like Nakomis was actually there for him the entire season.
Yeah, and he didn't because she made it obvious. But we move. Cowboy is renominated. Of course, he is not happy about that because why would you be? And even though even though they had a conversation about it, it's like, bitch, that's even worse. You slapping me in my face. Well, not worse, but it's like, girl, like, why don't you care about this relationship? And it just doesn't make any sense. Nakomis is just not an active strategist in that manner. Like she has a strategic mind about certain organizations of numbers, but when it comes to the game and socially strategic, she's not socially strategic. It's very weird.
And that's her main flaw. It truly is. If she was a better social player, Nakomis would be a really good player because she's calm, honestly. She's collected. She's not sloppy. So if she had the social game, Nakomis would be nasty.
Exactly.
And I love how Julie called her out because Julie Chen was like, you nominated the twins because they broke a promise, but you said you would nominate Michael and you did that. So what's T? And she was like, well, I told him. That was her. Like, I said it. And it's so interesting because Cowboy, I hate that he didn't push back. Like that's what we read on the feeds. Like he didn't push back in that conversation at all. You know, we kind of slightly saw it in the episode, but that was the one conversation. And then she came with him with like the final confirmation that he's going up. He didn't say really anything against it. He was just like, well, if you want to do it, it's fine. I'm okay with it. And then he went and talked about it. But it's like, girl, fight for your life. Like the people are too comfortable with going on the block this season because I guess the 6-figure plan got them confident that they're gonna stay. Because I'm not going on the block, bitch. You're my sister.
Yeah. I feel like I've never heard that type of like this season never gave us that type of refusal to go on the block, like that type of energy. No one has given that energy of I'm fighting for my life to stay, bitch. I'm not getting up. I'm not getting Rena. All of that. I remember even last season, Erica and David and Jack were fighting for their lives to make sure David and Erica weren't nominated. It was one week they were like, Erica needs to stay. We finna fight. David and Jack was going around to the Stooges making deals and making sure they were going to vote together and da-da-da-da. The next week, David was going to be the renom. They was going around making sure they was like these very, for lack of better words, unactive players were still fighting to not be nominated. This season, we got nothing. Everyone who got nom just accepted being nom. Even Will, when he went home, he just accepted going home. Marvin accepts being nommed every single time. It's like everyone's just accepting defeat. Fight, bitch. Get up. Get up. No one is fighting. But yes, when the final nominees are Natalie and Cowboy, Natalie and Adria, of course, are like, we can go to our alliance, our old alliance, Drew and Diane, and we're gonna make sure they vote for us. They want to like kind of intimidate them a little bit into remembering the fact that they were working together and that they made a deal. Because in their mind, the only deal they made was with Drew and Diane. It wasn't this other Will shit. But that's their problem. That's where their flaw comes in. Because Diane very clearly knows they did make a deal with Will, and she feels like even though they have a deal with us, they're gonna go back on a deal, bitch. They don't give a fuck about a deal.
And
they've done it before.
Watch what you do, because a lot of people have that logic. Like, if you do something to somebody else, you're gonna do it to me.
Exactly. And so it didn't work because Natalie has a good campaign to Drew. Natalie's a great campaigner. She's a great strategy. So she campaigns to Drew, and it actually works because by the end of this campaign, Drew is like, bitch, you're right. It could be the four of us plus Cowboy and the plan that he makes. And I do enjoy this concept from Drew, but to be honest, it was influenced by Natalie. Natalie ate that conversation up as she usually does.
Natalie and Adria as well, because on the feeds he has another conversation with Adria, and directly after that conversation he goes to talk to Diane and he pitches the plan again. And he's like, you know, we can save the twins, and Diane is basically like, well, I don't believe in the twins, I don't trust them, like I don't think that they're gonna be, this was in the episode, I don't trust the twins, I don't believe they're gonna be on our side. And she's like, I think I'm gonna be nominated. But what sparked it was a conversation that he had with Adria on the feeds, and she was also kind of going in about how I can protect you, like realize who you are, realize who has your back, like things like that. So Drew is definitely, I wouldn't say easily influenced by them, but he truly does like them as people in the game, and he wants to work with them as game players. And I think he realized that one, they'd have the majority, but also he would be the center of this group. Everyone fucks with him in this group. It's the people he actually talks to. So it's like, I can see why he thought that would be a big benefit, but Diane, I can see why she thought it wouldn't be for her, especially because the way she's already distanced herself from the twins.
And I do think Drew is a little easily influenced because on his HOH week, Natalie threw out the Holly idea, and then also Natalie was a potential nom, and Natalie basically was like, well, no, we're allies, we have the Bible, you know, whatever. They did their campaign, and she didn't get nominated initially after that conversation. And then also that week, when the boys talked to him about saving Holly, he was leaving that conversation kind of considering actually saving her with the veto until he kind of like went back to his senses. I do think it's easy for him to kind of, you know, flow a little bit with the win, which makes Diane even less impressive because Drew genuinely can be convinced of things, and Diane doesn't even try to. She just lets him do what he does, and it's like,
I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't say fully convinced, because I just think that at the end of the day, he still goes back to what he wants. You know what I mean? True. I think he considers all options.
He does.
But Drew has an idea of what he wants. And I think that shows in his actions, especially with his conversations. Like, sometimes Drew will have certain diary rooms that I think does conflict certain things. But if you watch his actions, well, I'm reading his actions, he always goes with the plan or the idea that he wants. It's just if he's not successful, he's not successful. And I think if someone says something different, he will consider it.
That's why I'm
option.
I do agree.
I don't think he's like easily convinced.
But he's open to being convinced, and Diane doesn't even do anything with that. Like, she never tried.
She tried. Like, she tried. It's just she's not successful.
And how is she not successful? And that's the problem.
She doesn't give a damn about her for real.
But that's the thing. Diane does not try in a good way, from what I remember. Because last week she did try to convince him to like not vote out Will, but I feel like that wasn't to me, it wasn't a good effort from Diane. The way that Natalie has these conversations with Drew and Adria, both times, it's actually they're giving him a reason why this is good for his game. And that's when Drew will actually consider it. And you're right. Drew is going to think about what's good for his game. And I feel like when you present an offer in a manner that it's good for his game, then he will actually listen. I don't think Diane ever really does that for anybody, honestly, not just for Drew. She never presents anything in their perspective. She kind of just has an opinion, and she says an opinion, and then she kind of goes from there and expects it to work. But it's like, that doesn't do anything. But yeah, we move. So they have this conversation, and Drew kind of feels like it's a good idea, but Diane doesn't want it. And Diane in this moment kind of has the upper hand because Nakomis is the HOH. She wants Natalie gone. Diane and Karen already have the votes. It's like kind of there. So that's how we end off the week. We get to the vote. Natalie gets evicted. And we move forward. Now, there are plans for next week. Going into next week, Girl Power, Diane, Nakomis, and Karen, they're all getting on the same page. They're all locking in on the same page. And the boys are on the same page too. What's the tea on the boys?
So the boys basically talk about sticking together as well. The only 3 boys left in the house are Marvin, Drew, and Cowboy. They had a conversation about staying together. Marvin talked about how he wants Karen out. Marvin also speaks separately with Drew about a final 2. He wants to go to the end with Drew.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why Marvin wants to do this, but that's what Marvin wants. And of course, Drew is going to agree to it because what else is he going to do? Like, he's always going to just go with the flow. And so while they're doing that, the girls are talking about how they want Adria to go next, and then Cowboy, and then Marvin. And then this is kind of what we see a lot of, where Diane is saying to them how, Drew is in on being Final Four. Drew is going to protect us, things like that. Like, Drew is going to vote right. He's not going to sway. Like, she's trying to, like, be the mouthpiece for Drew on his behalf. And I think little moments like that is definitely a sense of protection because of the proximity.
So going into next week, Nakomis and Karen are essentially a final 2. Nakomis is not going to final 2 with Diane. She basically said that to Karen. They're a final 2. Diane and Drew are a final 2, but Drew also has a final 2 with Cowboy, and he also has a final 2 with Marvin. And it's really giving that. Natalie is gone. Adria is finna go home next. And really, Drew has 3 motherfucking final 2s. Yeah, that's really what it's giving.
It's kind of like Tyler, but you remember how with Tyler, people would just go up to him and be like, "Hey,
happened to Matt too.
Happened to Matt." It's like, this is kind of the position that you can get into, and I think players like this, it's on them to be able to maintain it and then grow from it. And I think Drew, while he didn't like do it in this like massive, like just impressive and all out there way, he still built up on it. Like, I can tell that there's some game sense there. And if Drew had a little bit more, like, this is season 5, technically season 4 of actual gameplay. So it's interesting to see that he is building upon it the way he does, because I feel like I've seen multiple examples of this strategy and I don't get that at all. So he definitely has his own, like, I feel like, agenda, and he tries to move through the game with that agenda. And I do appreciate that. Like, I think a lot of people kind of just go with the flow or goes with someone else's flow. And I don't think Drew does that. I think Drew is a very independent player that just can, move around very easily. And that's really interesting. I like Drew, and I feel like I have a newfound respect for Drew. It's just, I'm never going to like this archetype style of play. I'm never going to like people who play like this or who are able to get in these positions, because there's always a sense of unearnedness that I feel within it, because it's like, you look like that. And this is why you're getting this. You look like that. Like, you were born that way, baby. And it's more respectful to me when I see a player like a Dan Giesling or even a Dr. Will, where it's like, you kind of have to work your way to a position where people respect you at that level and want to work with you at that level. Like, Drew truly has done nothing to earn the amount of final 2s that he has, the amount of respect that he may have, the amount of relationships that are protecting him. He has not done most of that work to really do that on his own. But it is a benefit that he's receiving. And I feel like a lot of people, when they're describing the game of Big Brother, they don't talk about that very true fact that there are people, just like in the real world, who will be benefited just by how they look and just by how the privilege that they have within that. That is a real thing. And it happens in the Big Brother house all the time. And I think people go straight to, well, they have to be playing the game well because you have 3 final 2s. You have everyone protecting you like you're a good game player. That is not the case. Just because someone is born... someone in the real world could be born with money, beauty, privilege, and they'll become a millionaire by the time they're like fucking 20 something. Is that earned? Did they work every day of their life? Did they slave every day? Did they build something? No, they probably got a motherfucking inheritance check from their daddy. Yeah, invested in somewhere else.
And some of them think they really earned that. A lot of them think they really earned.
They're benefiting off their parents' oil company that was in their name.
For not the Cowboy say.
I mean, that's just how it works. So it's like, a lot of times we talk about, what's earned and what's not. I just think that a lot of people are born in this world, and they're able to go into this game and benefit off of natural things that they just benefit from. And Drew is his looks. It truly is just his looks and his demeanor.
Very much so. Child, there was one America's Vote. We finally got an America's Vote this season. Marvin wins it. Gag order. Like, gag order.
Marvin.
There's not an America's favorite player this season, but is it giving he would have won? America's favorite player? Is it giving?
Is it giving?
Is it giving daughter? Because he won the vote.
They said Drew was second.
Drew was second. Marvin was first. But there had never been a winner who also won America's favorite. Not that that's that not that that's going to determine who votes who, but I think a part of it kind of does. It's like, oh, well, who's going to win? Let's vote Marvin, but Marvin won. And also, we saw with Janelle, she won all of the America's Favorite, and then she won the America's Favorite Player thing. So it's like, it's giving Marvin probably could have won that, which is very interesting. But he is a fun, fresh, refreshing character in this dull season. So I see how he's a fan favorite.
Yeah, because everybody else kind of boring. And he really wanted it. He was like, I'm a huge fan of Young and the Restless. Please
he did really want it. Boom. Let's get into these motherfucking ratings real quick, baby. Natalie is out of the game. How are we feeling about Natalie's game?
So, like I was saying earlier, I think Natalie is kind of the better of the twin. Whatever score I give her, Adria is definitely getting a notch lower. But I don't really know how I feel about her overall because, I mean, we only got half of her. You know, She was in and out of the game. We couldn't tell which one was her for a while. When she came in, it seemed like she was definitely the more dominant twin as far as having conversations and talking game and trying to work out some things. Like, she just seems to be the smarter of the twins, but she kind of got a rough start because you come in with this big target on your back and then you sit here and you have to deal with your sister making this huge, I feel like, game blunder. And while Natalie was in on it, I do think Natalie kind of just allowed Adria to do what she wanted at the end of the day.
I think so
and
too.
She stood by her sister's side, which of course you're gonna do that. That's your twin. And she did sink on the ship with her. And she's like, well, I don't want to sink, but yeah, girl, you're gonna sink. Y'all got the same face, girl.
Yeah.
What do you think is gonna happen? Yeah. So I would love to see Natalie play this game without kind of all of those burdens because I do think she could be interesting. The one negative thing is that people did clock that she is more aggressive and that she kind of is the evil twin, as they would say. But if there is no twin there's no one to compare her to. So I'm like, what could it have given? I don't know. I think overall, I'm going to give Natalie, I want to give Natalie, I was going to say a 4, but I think a 3.5 is more fitting.
I think I'm going to give her why is this gone? I'm going to give her a 4. I'm going to give her a 4, personally.
I feel like I wouldn't feel comfortable giving her a full 4 because I'm just like, I don't have enough of her game to really go off of. Like, we've seen her for what, 2 weeks?
We've seen her alone for 2 weeks for sure. But this is what I was gonna say. Like, now that you said that, what I was gonna say was, I do think Adria and Natalie switching in and out with each other. It was half Natalie, half Adria. I think both of them were very successful, even in the first couple of weeks, with preventing themselves from being a target, but still actively playing while doing the twin twist. I have a respect for that. Like, the fact that they are switching in and out and still being active players. They were one of the first people to push the Girls Alliance. It was Adria / Natalie and Diane having conversations, Adria / Natalie and Karen having she was one of the first people pushing it. So I actually respect both of them a lot. They've constantly been active players. And like I said, when Drew was HOH and Natalie was in the house, she did not get them nominated because of that conversation she had. Just so active. I really respect it. It sucks because I don't think I can go higher than a 4 because of her attachment to Adria. Oh, and the last thing I feel is she did fall down with Adria, but this is the only time in Big Brother history where I feel like it is okay to kind of just allow yourself to fall. And truthfully, I can tell she wouldn't have did that for any other bitch because the way she was still having conversations with everybody else while Adria was doing what she was doing, literally. It was giving very much so. And even the conversation with
Nakomis, didn't want to be attached to Adria. Like, she desperately wanted to be not attached to Adria's mess. It's just, that's her sister.
Because she knew it was a mess. So it's hard because she still did fall down with Adria and literally got evicted because of it. But I do genuinely feel like if Adria was just any random bitch on the block, she would have never done that. And she would have been a very independent player and would have been able to still survive from this. So it's just hard. But she's not that high because she was still seen as aggressive. She did fall down with Adria. But I like her. I like her gameplay. She was cute. But yeah.
I just noticed that they're like in the direct center of the list. Like, they go home right in the middle of the game.
Right in the middle of the game.
Even like us covering this week, like Tuesday Natalie goes home, Thursday Adria. It's like, it's just so back to back. That's funny to me. It's like Divine.
Adria, on the other hand, it's a chop. She has been acting a fool. She's the reason that they are in this hole, if you ask me. This week she's clearly the next target. She has no social capital with anyone. She doesn't like Diane. Drew isn't going to go with their plan, even though they tried to get Drew to go with their plan, which was also kind of good work. But she's truly in a hole. There's no one she can go. I gave her a 1 last week. I got to give her a 1 this week. The only positive is that she won the comp, but as soon as she doesn't, she's going home. So it's really bad for her. We'll see what we give her overall.
Yeah, Adria, it's a chop. It's a chop. I have to give her the 1 as well. I don't know.
Damn.
Overall, I mean, I don't even know what I'm going to give her because it's just the social awareness isn't there, the social maneuvering isn't there, the strategic mindset isn't there. Like, it's just not there. She can't. Like,
oh no,
it's bad, and no one likes her. Like, she is not going to get out of this spot. Like, it's so bad that she won and she took out someone like Marvin because we now know Marvin wins and takes her out. It's like nominating Marvin was not a good idea because he trusted her. He truly felt backstabbed by her and Natalie, and he uses that pettiness to go after Natalie here, after Adria here, when it wasn't smart for his game. Like, he makes a move that is terrible for his game. He literally goes out next, and it's like she could have been a target in front of him. She could have been someone that can win comps with him, and because of that stupid move, she ruined her game. She ruined both her and Natalie's game. It's really bad. How you ruin 2 people's game?
2 people game. Brought 2 people down. Ciao. How you feel about Marvin? Speaking of the devil.
Marvin, child, I gave him that 1.5 last week. It's not much to his game. We know that he's the HOH now, but I know what he does with it. And even without knowing what he does with it, he set it on the feed what he wants. He either wants Karen or Adria. And he wants Final 2 with Drew. When Drew got all these connections, it's just, the girls are just floating in the wind, girl. Floating in the motherfucking wind. I know that he has the HOH. I'm going to give him the 2 because of that.
Oh, okay, boom.
But nothing that he wants to do is good. I guess I want to give him the 2 because, well, there's a hope that he could improve his game and get people on his side. But
I gave him the 2 last week because Adrian and Natalie have became targets number 1 and 2, and I felt like that was going to buy him some time. He got some time. He didn't do anything with it. Marvin has 0 alliances. He has 0 allies. He hasn't tried to make an alliance
with Drew.
He has 0 alliances. He has 0 allies. The only time he tried to make alliance was to try to make a Final 2 with Drew, which is a terrible. He went to the one person he shouldn't make a Final 2 with and made a Final 2 with them. It's really bad for him. I guess he could win the HOH. We know he does. But, hypothetically, if I'm thinking about last week, he could win the HOH and buy himself another week, and he still has Adria as a hurdle. But Adria just won veto. She could win veto again. Like, is anybody else a target other than him? Not really. Like, he's in a really bad position. The nigga's going to go home. I can just keep him at the 2, but really, he didn't play this good this week good at all. Like, he's so out of this. He's out of it. He's not doing anything. Oh, he's just not doing anything. Somebody said Marvin was overhyped out here. He's like, he is overhyped as a player. Like, people even thought he was a good player. He's not a good player.
Especially when they thought that he came up with the 6-finger plan. I think that really helped boost a lot of people's thought because it does seem impressive that you can kind of not be in an alliance and make it this far. But he's not a floater. He's not a floater. He's more of a coaster for sure.
Yeah, that's very true. Then we have Karen, also a chop. She is still not really doing anything. Like,
also, I feel like one of the biggest misconceptions.
Another big misconception. This season has a lot of big misconceptions. One, that it's actually a good season. It's not. 2, that Marvin was a part of that Marvin created the back door. That's not necessarily true. That Marvin is a good player. He's not. That Karen is a good player. She's not. That Nakomis is a good player. She's not. That Diane is a good player. She's not. Truly, there is not a good player I can say other than Will and Drew.
And Drew was a bad winner, and he's not.
Oop. Clock it. Like, there's a lot of just this is just a wrong season. So anyways, I gave Karen a 2.5 last week. I'm going to give her a 2.5 again. She actually, nope, I'm going to give her a 2.5 again because people still don't necessarily love her. She does now have kind of more of a Final 2 with Nakomis, so that's good. I do think that Diane will not target her before she targets Marvin and Cowboy. She said she would prefer to go Adria, Cowboy than Marvin. So that's someone that Karen isn't going to be targeted by also. So I think Karen is safe with a few people for 1 or 2 weeks. But other than that, there's nothing there. She's not helping her game. It's a no.
And I want y'all to know that these ratings are not normal in BB Rewind. Like, I can see how it may seem like doing ratings is kind of off because we do know some of the tea, but it's like, no. We are, it's usually way more better than this. Like, these people aren't doing anything.
Nope. It's really bad.
People aren't doing anything.
It's really bad.
Like, I can't.
We'll get into the overall score because the overall score, you're finna see. We're gonna have up the last 4 seasons we did and this season, and we're gonna really see the overall scores for those last final 5 people because, baby,
it's like no one is really trying to do anything, and even when they are talking game, it's moves that's like Drew is not on the list. You know what I mean? Like we're worried about Cowboy and Marvin. Drew's sitting right there. You want Drew in your final 4, and you talk all this shit about him. Like even if he's non-threatening, what is him being there doing for you, Nakomis?
Like, what?
You may dislike Cowboy. You take out Drew. Cowboy has no one but you. Let's wake it up. Moves like that. You know what I mean? It's Karen has no respect in this game. Karen has no win equity. Karen has no authority. Karen is not a real player. Like if Karen was a boy, she'd be Marvin because she wouldn't even have the girl power alliance.
Yeah,
it's a 2.
Nakomis is next. Thoughts?
Yeah.
Damn, these people suck. What's he?
And what's bad about Nakomis is I really do enjoy Nakomis. I don't enjoy her logic for how she plays the game as far as like, I want to do it loyalty.
This is the group, and this is the group we're sticking with.
After the bullies, and I'm peace and love, dude. You know, that's her vibe. And it's like, I don't really love that on the game level. I do like that this week, you know, for example, when she was talking to Karen and she was like, look, yeah, Diane been saying she don't give a fuck about you. She don't give a fuck about Drew. She going to the final 2 with me, but I'm not going to the final 2 with her. You know, she was saying that to Karen. I was like, okay, Nakomis, I see what you're doing, you know. And then even her going after the twins, it's like, yeah, you could be a little cutthroat. You don't give a damn. You could not give a damn. You gotta be struck first. But when you're struck first, bitch, you're gonna strike the fuck back. And maybe that's what it is. Nakomis needs to keep getting tested. She's not tested.
She does. That's where she gets interesting.
Because
it is
like, other than that, she's just stagnant. She's truly stagnant. She now ruined any connection she had with her own brother in this game. You know, Drew, she has no connection with, and she wants him in the final 4. Marvin, she has no relationship with, and she didn't even nominate him this week. You know what I mean? Like, I can see a path to her getting to the end. It's her winning out. As far as like, you know, her being taken, her having someone that's going to prioritize her, it's not really there. I gave her the 4.5. She was the HOH. She got her target. Her name is still not being said. I can see how she can be in the end game. And I do feel positively on that. Like, I'm thinking if I was in this space, what do I think of Nakomis? She's in the end game. She's not a target. She can win competitions. She is someone that could potentially win this game. Like, I think she's a contender for the crown. And I will say the 6 for that.
Damn. I did not expect that.
High.
I'm not gonna give her something that high. I did not expect that at all. I do think Nakomis she has some positives and some negatives this week. I love that she actually has a final 2 with Karen. I love that Diane is claiming to be a final 2 with her. I think Diane prioritizes Nakomis right after Drew. So she does have those 2 things going well for her. And that was the main reason I gave her a 3 last week, because she didn't have any in-game plans. She didn't have any final 2s. She didn't have any shit. Now she does, and I think that's helpful. I don't like that Cowboy now knows that she doesn't give a fuck about her, and I don't like that she doesn't have a relationship with Marvin or Drew. It is top 7, and you don't have a relationship with 3 people in the house. That makes absolutely no sense.
Help her, but then I forgot about the Cowboy thing when I gave her the 6.
And I don't like that at all. I really don't appreciate that at all. Taking out Natalie, I don't think it's that bad, but I also don't necessarily think. I don't know if there was a different path she could have had. I think it's fine. I think it's fine that she took out Natalie. It's fine. She's still not a target. She's still not on anyone's name. And I do think she can make it farther and farther because she still has been consistently not threatening to people. So for that, I think I will give her 4.5.
Yeah. And I want to bring her down to the 5 overall.
Yeah, because the Cowboy thing
I gave her the 6 because when I was thinking of the actual final score, I forgot about the Cowboy thing. Like, I factored in the fact that she didn't have the strongest relationships because I don't think it necessarily matters. Like, it doesn't matter for Drew. It doesn't matter for her. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't really matter this season about how strong the connections are necessarily because of how everyone's playing, especially in this end game. But her putting up Cowboy, I think is stupid as hell. So I have to bring her down for that.
Next, speaking of Cowboy, baby. How you feeling about Cowboy?
Cowboy, ciao. I think that he definitely did some good work as far as like creating this bond with the twins, because we know how the twins vote at the end game, but
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to know that yet. However, I did want to mention that that's a really good thing on him, because that's 2 whole votes. Like that's 50% of his goddamn votes, bitch. You only need 2 more to win the whole thing. And that's really impressive, and that is work that he did. Like he sought out that relationship, he made it so, and then he has the relationship with Drew that he's still extending on. Like he's always in Drew's face. I think Drew gets a little bit annoyed with him, but I don't know if Drew thinks he knows he can beat Cowboy or what, but Drew is not letting go of his Cowboy relationship. Now, I will say he heavily contemplated letting him go this week.
He did.
Which shows that Cowboy girl, you're not that locked in with him. However, something about Drew always defaults to Cowboy. Maybe with the 4 Horsemen, I don't know. Maybe he feels sorry for him, child. I don't know. Right. But other than that, Cowboy really doesn't have many connections either with everyone in the game. I feel similarly to Nakomis with him. The fact that it's like no one is saying his name. And it seems like he's someone that
they are saying his name though. That's the problem with him.
But they're not saying his name like first. Like people are saying Adria,
then Cowboy,
and then the Cowboy. And it's like a lot can change in a week. They cannot have power in a week. In a week, Drew, Diane, because Diane's not gonna do it. Even though Diane does not like Cowboy, Diane's not gonna do it because Drew's gonna tell her not to do it. And she's not gonna do it. I think that Cowboy is protected by a lot of like different machinations of the game. You know what I mean? Because even like Marvin, it's like Marvin annoys people more than Cowboy. Like depending on which side wins, they're gonna target Karen. They're gonna target Nicole. You know what I mean? So it's like I think that he has outs, is what I'm saying. He has more outs than none. And that's a positive. He hasn't really proven that he can win comps like that though. And I don't like how his social game is set up. And I think it affects him more only because from this POV that I have, he can't win comps like that. And people are at least saying his name as someone that is like maybe the next target.
Exactly.
But I don't think it's an immediate threat. So I'll just keep him at the 5.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't feel that great because he was nominated this week. He in a way could have went home.
I literally forgot about that because these nominations do not even fucking matter. Like
they don't. But him being a renom is not good. Nakomis clearly not prioritizing him isn't good. Because at first it was kind of like at least she wouldn't nominate him because she was saying that, and then she did. So it's like you don't even have Nakomis to not nominate you. People are thinking of him as a target after Marvin and Adria, but he could always be a renom like he was this week. He could always be at risk now, and I don't love that. And clearly Drew doesn't prioritize him that much because he almost voted the nigga out. He doesn't have many connections, and I don't like that either. But I do think what you're saying is true, that now, especially now that Natalie is officially gone, Drew is definitely going to stay locked in with Cowboy. Diane is going to keep him safe by association. I don't think Nakomis wants him gone. So I think there's a lot of people who don't want him gone, and I think that's very helpful. But I don't think he's helping. He's not carving a path for his game moving forward at all. He's kind of just allowing himself to be used and moved around and played and nominated. And I don't like that. And I don't like how much at risk he could potentially be. Even like Marvin winning HOH, Marvin could easily nom Cowboy. He don't have a relationship with him. He don't like that nigga. Cowboy might be a renom next week because he was a renom this week. It's just he's too much at risk, and I don't love that. So I got to give him the 4. I think he has protection. I don't think the relationships affect him that much, but he's just too much at risk for me. Diane, I gave her a 6.5 last week. I think she's still in a good position because she does still have Nakomis and Karen on the side. She still has Drew and Cowboy through Drew kind of on the other side. Marvin's not targeting her at all. She's good. She's good for everybody. She's pretty good for everybody. She's damn near definitely making it into the final 3 considering all of the machinations of the game. She's basically in the center of the game. Very good position. And that's a positive. She doesn't have the greatest strategic mind. Drew always seems a little bit up on her on the strategic mind of it all. Nakomis and Karen be talking shit about her. I don't even think she knows that tea. So all of that is like it makes me not want to give her 7 really 7.5. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I think she's fine. I think she's in a good position. It's just position with Diane. Like in my mind, it's not because Diane is a great player. It's not because Diane can win. It's not because Diane is going to do this and this and this. It's mostly Diane is in a great position. And it's kind of just that. So I think I'm going to keep her at the 6.5, honestly, because it's like I can't think past that. I can't get past that's all it is with her.
And that's truly a lot of people this season. A lot of people, I feel like it's more so their position at the time rather than what they're actually doing. I do want to give Diane just a little bit more credit, only because her being in the center of the game, while she is sloppy, it does kind of come from her own relationships. You know, she talks to Marvin a lot. She has maintained a relationship with Nakomis and Karen. She's in a showmance with Drew. She doesn't like Cowboy, but she doesn't let Cowboy know that. You know, Cowboy isn't walking around saying, I want to go after Diane. Her jury management isn't the best. People do not like her necessarily, but she's never, well, for a while, she has not been considered a target. Ever since she won HOH, no one has talked about targeting Diane, because around the time of that HOH is when she centered herself. Like, that HOH in itself centered her in the game. And it kind of continued throughout Nakomis' HOH. So I think that Diane deserves some credit for this position. It's just she isn't building upon it. She isn't expanding it. She's not fully forging a path to where she is the winner of this season at the end of it, you know, or even a legendary loser. You know, I think she's legendary for so many other like personality reasons, but for the actual game, it isn't always there. However, I will say socially, I think that she is not a bad player at all. I think that socially she's working the game that benefits her. I agree with that. See how in other seasons, like an All-Star, people don't warm up to her personality, because that's another thing between Allison and Diane specifically. They are not likable people, especially in the confines of this game. They were in situations where they were able to maneuver just enough to get to the end game. I can see how in an All-Stars, girl, we don't like you, goodbye. There's nothing else to talk about. So that's another negative on Diane, because like I said, I don't even know who she can beat, because a lot of people think negative thoughts about her. But like I said, I want to give her some credit for like being in this spot. Like, she is the only person here. If I was watching live, I would say, boom, her and Drew, boom, y'all in final three. Y'all are in final three. I'm gonna give it
the who?
I'm gonna give it a 7, because I do think that she isn't just in the center just by being in the center. Like, you know, like Drew, he has this here, he has this, he has this here, and I feel like it's a lot of because of the perception of him. Diane's perception is actually very negative, and she's still in the center of the game. So I do want to give her some credit on that. I think she's really sloppy, but it's still working. It's working. It's working.
And Drew, baby, how you feeling about Drew? Give him the 8 last week, baby.
But I was really high on him. Like, he did his own agenda, and I would have been high on him again if he successfully switched Diane's mind and kept the twins. That would have been a nasty move for him. But it didn't happen. And I feel like by it not happening, it does give Diane the upper hand even more and more, because we're in the end game now. Adria is the next target. That leaves Diane in the game with Nakomis, Karen. That's 3 right there. Now, Marvin, Cowboy, and Drew have their 3, but they are pretty new. You know, Cowboy doesn't even like Marvin. It's just there's a lot more tension. And we don't know that Diane would flip on Karen yet. From our perspective, and what she's saying on the feeds, it's always Nakomis, Karen, and Drew. That is her pact. So as of now, I think Drew is kind of in a good position to where, you know, he has the boys over here, and he now has the girls protecting him and wanting to go with him to the end. Some of the things that I feel negatively about him, we spoke about. People are calling him childish. People are calling him a scared player. It's kind of more becoming revealed that he's not necessarily targeted because we like him, but because we're not scared of him. I don't think people see him as threatening or view him as someone that could potentially just win this game. However, I think he's still likable enough to win, and which he eventually does. It's just, you know, with him, it is a lot of positioning. You know, I don't think it's necessarily a lot of just active work. I mean, like we said earlier, he has 3 final threes. He didn't go up to any of those people and make those final threes. They came up to him, you know, but it's like that type of position. It's so just strong and prominent. It's almost like someone who's lucky. You have to factor in luck to a certain extent. It's like with this, you have to factor in the fact that he is so liked that it's gonna bloop him right into final 3 and eventually. And that is what I'm seeing here. He still is like guaranteed an end game, even though his connections are not the strongest, even though they're saying these negative things. He's guaranteed an end game. And I know that some of the things he actually does do is intentional and strategic. So for that, I want to give him the 7 as well.
Period. I'm going to keep him at the 7.5. I had him at a 7.5 last week because I didn't like that Diane had more control. Same thing as the week before. I was like, I have to just keep him at this area because Diane has the upper hand. I won't say more control because she doesn't, but she has the upper hand to where if she ever were to, he has to rely on her. And we talked about it. He does. He has to rely on her and her relationships, which is why when he wanted the move to happen this week, he couldn't do it on his own volition because all of his numbers are gone. It's simply just Diane and her numbers. So that's why I can't go any higher on him. But I think he's in a really good position. And I think his position is getting more and more impressive because of the people leaving. Will and then Natalie going is better and better for him. Will and Natalie being here is what was helping Diane stay at the upper hand in my mind, because specifically Will, because with Will, he actually was still in that group with Karen, Nakomis, and Diane, and it was actually becoming a 4 because of the way the twins, ruined that. But now that Will went, it kind of like kept Cowboy and Marvin here. So now Drew kind of has the leverage of Marvin and Cowboy to kind of move forward. Adria is the house target. So going into the top 6, it's 2 people who have a final 2 with Drew versus Nakomis, Karen, and Diane. It's kind of 3v3 in a way. And he has Diane. So I really like his position a lot, considering Adria being the next big target. I feel like he's kind of good, honestly, moving forward, and he can kind of have this even playing field, whereas at first it was looking like, hold on, Diane's playing field is a little bit better. So I'm gonna keep him at the 7.5. I like where he's at, and I think he can head to the win easily.
I think that's fair. I think I am at this point kind of prioritizing kind of what you said a little bit, because it's like I would more like if he were to make sure Adria stays somehow. Like you have a contour with Marvin. Tell Marvin not to target her. Tell Marvin to go after Karen and Nakomis. Exactly. Why do you need Karen and Nakomis here? You know what I mean? That is when I would be like 8. I would be gagging. But it's like there's only so much. Like
exactly. And we'll see him next week, because next week I think he is gonna go down for me, because what are you doing? Not what are you doing, but it's like he's not not moving it around. So we will see. I have them in order, baby. Adria at the bottom, Marvin right behind her, Karen right behind them. The same place they've been all season. The top 4 are the top 4. Cowboy, Nakomis, Diane, and Drew. We got Cowboy at a 4.5, Nakomis at a 4.75, Diane at a 6.75, and Drew at a 7.25, baby. These are the top 4. These are terrible scores. Can't do it. And honestly, I was kind of being generous. What Tyler say? Oh, you on mute.
I felt differently watching it from like week 2 or 3. I could feel that Diane was going to choose Drew over everyone. It was just the way the conversations went. No, I think that's definitely fair. I also thought the same thing. It's just I'm also saying what she's saying, even though I know it's bullshit. Like she like, because from that moment she was still like kind of like head over heels with him. But it was like that specific area, it was a lot of, oh well, I like you, but I'm more indebted to this side of the game. And I think as it progressed is when she was like, okay, you're my duo, you're my final 2. Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, we all know she was sprung.
Child. Make sure y'all get into the motherfucking other episodes, because on Thursday we will be recapping week 7, episodes 23, 24, and 25. So get into it, baby. Hopefully it's more exciting. We will see. Also, get into our other shit, because it is Casa Amor week with Love Island, and we are going live basically every motherfucking day of the week. So make sure you have your post notifications on and get into Love Island, honey. Also, of course, on Mondays we're doing our Big Brother off season leading up into Big Brother 27. Big Brother 27 is 16 days away, bitch. Get motherfucking ready. We're fucking ready, and we're here. So make sure you get into the tea of it all. Make sure you get into Reality Rewind as well. Vote for one of these 10 shows. The link is in the description. And I do have a Scripted Kingdom video dropping tonight. So make sure you get into that as well. And baby, thank you for keeping it real with the kingdom, honey. We're out. Mwah.